several children to my parents. When I got around 21 years old, we decided that we were going to strike out for the West. Now, where is it that you would go if you were heading west around 1820, you know?
California.
Well, California would be the end game. You're right about that. But where would you start that journey? Missouri. Where?
East.
Ah, St. Louis, he says. Now, he was on a roll until he said St. Louis. Okay? Everybody thinks St. Louis is the gateway to the West, but before St. Louis was even much of an afterthought, okay, Independence, Missouri is where the wagon train started west. Okay? Fort Osage, right near Independence, and that is where my family and I settled, about 4 miles west of there. Now, Fort Osage sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it? Yep. It's not. It's not much more than an overgrown log cabin. Block house with an upper level. It's got a little tiny cannon that's more for show than it is for defense. Okay, but it was a major place to get yourself outfitted as you prepared to head west. And so, between growing up in Tennessee and spending time in the hills of Missouri, that is where I honed my skills as a trapper, a tracker, and a frontiersman. And it wasn't long before me and some other fellas decided that we wanted to head west, all the way to California. Now, can you tell me who it was that owned California?
Mexico.
Mexico. That's right. The Spanish government out of old Mexico owned California. So we headed out there and we commenced to trapping all the beaver that we could lay our hands on. And lo and behold, the Spanish government found us, right? And they were not too happy about this. Okay, so they detained us. Have you ever been detained? No, I don't reckon that you have. Most of you don't look like you'd have a license that would allow you to be detained at this point in time. Okay? So, to be detained means to be arrested, right? And they threw us in jail and confiscated all of our traps and all of the skins that we'd trapped. And then they decided that we would be able to buy ourselves our freedom. Okay? Which basically meant they were going to put us to work doing what we'd come out there to do anyway, which is to trap. So we started trapping. And eventually we were able to secure our freedom and they let us go. And so I made the journey all the way back to Missouri, right? Back to Independence, and word got around about all my travels and my experiences, and the good people decided to go and elect me sheriff of Jackson County. Right? And I spent about 4 years as the sheriff of Jackson County, right? And during that time, I set myself up a nice little horse ranch as a side business, because you were allowed to do that back then. And got to the point that I had a pretty good herd of horses, and found out that the government was buying horse flesh down in Oklahoma at a premium price. So we drove the herd all the way down to Oklahoma, and I met up with a friend of mine by the name of Ben Bonneville. Ben and I decided it was time to mount a second expedition out to California. Now, of course, I didn't want to go the route that we'd taken before and run into the Spanish government again, because I'd had my fill of working for the Spaniards, right? So we decided we'd find a southern route and avoid them altogether if we could. So, if you're heading to Southern California, can you tell me what you're going to have to cross?
Desert.
I'm assuming
Desert.
mountains.
A lot of desert, a lot of dry country down there. Now, we took to following the Humboldt River. This is another thing that sounds real impressive, kind of like Fort Osage. But the Humboldt River really isn't much more than a stream, okay? But it is a source of water in the desert, and we followed it as far as we could, right? And it empties into a place called the Humboldt Sinks. Now, who can tell me what a sink is?
A place where the ground sinks into the earth.
That's
Where
right.
the ground sinks down.
That's right. Believe it or not, the river flows into the sink, but it doesn't flow out. Nor is it a lake. It's basically a little patch of marshy ground where the water disappears altogether. Nobody knows where it goes. Okay? But it is one of the last places to get water before you head on your way. So at the sinks, we ran into a party of Indians that were also searching for water. Okay? Now, to this day, I cannot tell you the tribe, because we took it upon ourselves to believe that our lives were in jeopardy and immediately commenced to fighting with them. And my party and I dispatched more than 24 of them as we fought our way out of the sinks, okay, and continued on our way. All right, so we trapped all throughout Southern California, and on a return trip back to Independence, I ran across John C. Fremont. Anyone here know who John C. Fremont is? Yeah, he was an explorer. He was lauded as the great pathfinder. John C. Fremont was kind of the Lewis or Clark of his day, okay? In that he was a soldier who was commissioned to go out and seek new routes of travel, to map out the territory, figure out where all the game and trapping was. On the sly, though, he was on the lookout for gold-rich ground, okay? And also, he had a personal thought that he would lead a revolt against the Spanish government in California and secure it for America. Okay, now that revolt ended up failing.